Sekeres and Price here with some reaction to the Vancouver Canucks big trade today. They trade out a first and second round pick to the Detroit Red Wings for defenseman Filip Hronek and a fourth round pick. That first round pick is the Islanders pick. It's the pick they got in the Bo Horvat deal. Right, yeah, exactly. So as of right now, that pick would be 14th overall, but if it all went to Hoyle at the draft lottery, and the second round pick would be 38 overall. So those two picks in a strong draft for Hronek, who's a 25-year-old right shot defenseman. He himself was a second round pick back in 2016. He's almost exactly a half point per game over the course of his career, making $4.4 million this year and next. He'll be a RFA after next season with a $5.28 million qualifying offer. So he's club controlled for 2 and a bit seasons here, Blake. As an all situations player, penalty kill as well, and starts filling the hole on the right side of defense, which is by far the biggest organizational weakness.
2 issues with this. The price is high. I mean, it's almost the same price as was paid for Jake Chychrun, a guy who was effectively on hold for 2 years while they tried to find the perfect trade. That price tag was almost the same as this one.
Yeah.
Secondly, you have to ask yourselves why. Why did the Red Wings want to let go of this player? The Red Wings are rebuilding. He's 25, plays in a bunch of situations. At first glance, why do the Red Wings want to go back to the draft and the Canucks don't for the same player?
Now, the Red Wings have a first pair right side guy in Moritz Seider. They
you hate to have 2 guys on the right side.
I know.
You hate that.
They just re-signed a couple of defensemen as well as committing a lot of money to Dylan Larkin, but they're awash in cap space, so it is a very good question. The Canucks would now pick in this draft 6 overall, 6 from the bottom right now, and then they wouldn't pick again until the 70th pick in the draft. Hronek had some really ugly plus-minus numbers on a very bad Detroit team, it must be said. Started off his career going -10, then -38, -18, -29. He's +8 this year. In fact, he's at 38 points this year. He was at 38 points last year as well. Look, this is another example that the Vancouver Canucks don't do rebuilds. They do retools. This is cashing in what would be a young, cheap asset a couple of years down the road for immediate gratification, trying to fast-track competitiveness. They've been doing this for 10 years with very little success, and here they are back taking another swing at this formula.
Allow me to be a reverse Yoda here. There is no do, there is only try. They try to retool. If they did retool, they wouldn't be in this position because they've had a decade of trying to figure things out. And that's the problem I think that most people see with this. There's nothing personal here between, I think, a lot of people and Filip Hronek, the player. He's a nice player.
Good player. Good player.
It has echoes of the JT Miller conversation when JT Miller was acquired, that no one had really anything wrong to say about the player at the time. Just did you pay too much given the market? Again, Jacob Chychrun was the apple of everybody's eye. He was almost the same price as this guy, Filip Hronek.
Yeah, a little more expensive, but and a different contractual situation with
Chychrun. A better contractual situation.
I mean, he's locked up longer. Yes,
at the same freight, basically.
So, couple other things. Number one, and Blake and I have been saying this on the show forever now. Right side defense is the scarcest commodity in hockey. If you don't draft and develop them, you pay handsomely for them, either in free agency or on the trade market. I mean, you can take a look at this trade and say, if you would have told me the first-round pick in the Horvat deal, so it turns out to be Hronek, Beauvillier, and Ratu for Horvat and a second-round pick, I don't think as many people would have been as behind that Bo Horvat trade as they were last month with the Islanders. And then the other thing that happens is he drops in the lineup right now, and he makes them better. Alongside Thatcher Demko, they've got, if they play Hronek on a different pair than Hughes, they'll now have 2 very competent defensemen on the ice for pretty much most of the game, they'll probably keep the goals down, be a little more competitive.
And there's a squish of teams there. This 6th overall or 6th worst record right now could be the 10th or 11th worst record like that.
The other thing I'll say, they committed what is left of their salary cap space next year on Hronek because he comes without anything going out the door. They are now right at the cap for next year, and they still have this glut of expensive wingers that they're going to have to move on from. And who knows, we may see some of that happen before Friday's deadline.
It's a hint that they're probably going to. We wondered about the future of Anthony Beauvillier as well. I mean, he's the same age as Filip Hronek. If they're okay with a 25-year-old defenseman, I'm going to guess they're okay with Anthony Beauvillier as well. I think we're getting a glimpse that he's probably a part of the future, and a guy like
Besser
is on the way up, maybe even Garland.